They called it a simple complaint. A few leaves in a neighbor's pool, but that small, ordinary issue would ignite a firestorm no one saw coming. One moment, Alex's backyard was a sanctuary, a place where generations of his family had grown, laughed, and lived. The next, it became the battlefield of an unimaginable betrayal. A single act of arrogance would tear through decades of history, shatter peace, and expose the ugly truth hiding behind polite smiles and manicured lawns. What started as a petty dispute would spiral into a nightmare that left one family's legacy hanging by a thread. And when the dust settled, the cost of that moment would shock the entire neighborhood, revealing a lesson in power, greed, and the consequences of standing up for what's right. But could one person fight back against the force of entitlement and injustice? And would justice come before it was too late? Alex had always loved his home, nestled in a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't just a house. It was a legacy, a piece of history carefully preserved by his family for decades. Every corner held memories. Summer barbecues, birthday parties, late-night talks under the stars. But the true heart of the property wasn't the walls or the roof. It was a massive white oak tree that towered near the fence line. For over 200 years, it stood as a silent witness to generations, its branches spreading shade and life over the backyard, a living monument of resilience and beauty. Life had been simple, predictable, and peaceful. Alex tended to his yard, watched the seasons change, and found comfort in the rhythm of everyday life. That was until Linda moved in next door, the new HOA president with a perfectionist streak and a disregard for anything untamed or natural. At first, it was just small complaints, whispers of control, and subtle threats. But the tension started building, unnoticed at first, like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. Alex had no idea that what seemed like an ordinary neighborly disagreement would soon escalate into a battle that would test his patience, his rights, and the very legacy of his family. The first ray of all crack appeared quietly, almost laughably. A few leaves had drifted from Alex's oak into Linda's pristine swimming pool, harmless and natural. But to her, it was a declaration of war. She stormed up to his door, face flushed with fury, ranting about rules and aesthetics, her voice sharp and unrelenting. "Cut it down," she demanded. Alex tried to reason with her. This tree wasn't just old. It was protected by law, a heritage species. But Linda wasn't listening. She waved away laws, regulations, and reason, claiming her authority as HOA president gave her the right to act as judge, jury, and executioner. Alex held his ground. Trespass? Felony? Nothing fazed him in the moment, though deep down a knot of worry formed. He didn't imagine someone would risk everything over a few leaves. But then, neither did he imagine what came next. 3 days later. A motion alert from his backyard camera flashed across his phone during a meeting. Glancing at it distractedly, he dismissed it at first, thinking perhaps it was a raccoon or a squirrel. But when he drove home that afternoon, the familiar silhouette of his yard was gone. Where the oak once spread its massive, proud branches, there was only a gaping void. Stumbling into the backyard, Alex froze. Sawdust carpeted the lawn. Branches were scattered like debris from a storm. And there, standing over the stump, was Linda, smug, triumphant, phone in hand, laughing as if she had just solved the world's greatest problem. Everything in Alex's chest tightened. Anger, disbelief, grief. The tree wasn't just wood. It was history, life, a family legacy. And yet, here was someone who treated centuries of growth and memory like an inconvenience to be erased. He wanted to yell, to grab her, to shake some sense into her, but he knew that reaction would play into her hands. Instead, he did something far more dangerous. He recorded everything, every inch of destruction, every mocking smile. Silent and deliberate, he retreated inside, letting the enormity of what had happened sink in as the hours passed. Linda strutted through the neighborhood, convinced she had won. The oak was gone. Her pool would stay clean. And in her mind, she had asserted her power. But Alex was already in motion. He called in experts, lawyers, and specialists. Arborists came to assess the damage, confirming the tree's staggering age and irreplaceable value. Legal counsel uncovered the full weight of the violation. Trespass, destruction of protected species, and punitive damages that could cripple even the most entitled homeowner. Linda didn't know that her arrogance had awakened a storm she could not control. She thought she was untouchable, but a reckoning was quietly building, piece by piece, calculation by calculation. Sunday morning arrived heavy with tension. The monthly HOA meeting was in full swing, the room filled with polite nods and murmurs, everyone unaware of the storm about to break. Linda stood at the podium, lecturing the residents about order, beauty, and neighborhood standards, her voice dripping with self-importance. She believed she had won. She believed her actions had gone unchecked. Then Alex walked in. The doors closed behind him with a resounding thud, and the room shifted. All eyes turned, some in curiosity, some in unease. In his hands, he carried a thick legal binder, a tangible weight of evidence, authority, and consequence. Linda's smug smile faltered, just for a fraction of a second, before she recovered, feigning amusement. "Alex," she sneered, "here to pay for your tree removal?" He walked straight up the center aisle, each step deliberate, echoing in the stunned silence. Every eye followed him, every whisper hushed. He reached the podium and slammed the binder onto the table with a force that made it vibrate. "You have been served," he announced, his voice steady, unyielding. The words hung in the air like a guillotine. Linda laughed nervously, flipping to the first page, but the humor quickly drained from her face. Her hands shook, her lips parted, and the color in her cheeks vanished. The room watched as the realization hit. She had not just destroyed a tree. She had committed a felony, trespass, and incurred damages that could topple her life. Panic replaced arrogance. Eyes darted around, seeking allies, excuses, anything to escape the consequences she had ignored for so long. The HOA treasurer stood up, cold and firm. "Absolutely not. You acted alone. The HOA is not liable for your crimes." Silence enveloped the room. Linda collapsed into her chair, sobbing, grasping at the shredded remnants of her authority. The very house, the swimming pool, and the lifestyle she had tried to control were now under scrutiny and threat. Her arrogance, her sense of superiority, her belief that she was untouchable, all of it crumbled in minutes. Alex remained calm, composed, yet the air around him was electric. Every resident in the room understood, without words, that justice had finally arrived. It was not loud or violent. It was absolute. In the weeks that followed, the aftermath of that single, reckless act rippled far beyond Alex's backyard. Linda's arrogance had cost her everything. Her house, her reputation, and the illusion of control she had clung to so tightly. Bankruptcy forced her to sell the home she had tried to dominate, leaving the neighborhood free from her relentless pursuit of perfection. Meanwhile, Alex took the settlement and did what anyone who understood legacy in life would do. He planted new saplings along the property line, each one a promise of resilience, growth, and hope. The oak might have been lost, but its spirit would live on in new life. A reminder that destruction cannot erase what truly matters. The experience left Alex changed, not just in the way he saw his home or his family's legacy, but in how he understood the world around him. The insidious ways entitlement, prejudice, and disregard for justice can destroy what generations have built. It was a stark reminder that standing up for what is right often comes with fear, risk, and the weight of responsibility. But it also proved that courage, patience, and strategy can restore balance and deliver justice where it seems impossible. This story isn't just about a tree. It's about the countless ways individuals face systemic unfairness and aggression, often for simply existing, preserving what is theirs, or daring to stand against injustice. Every time someone takes action, challenges an abuse of power, or defends what is right, they become part of a legacy that stretches far beyond themselves. So, when the world tries to tell you that speaking up doesn't matter, remember Alex's story. Remember that courage can take root even in the smallest moments, and that the fight for justice is never in vain. The question isn't whether you can make a difference, it's whether you will. What would you risk to protect what's rightfully yours? And who will stand with you when it matters most?